Anânêl was in charge of growing plants. Ananiel was entrusted by God with all the trees of the earth, all the plants and the rain and dew, the heat, the simoom, and the wind as many atmospheric phenomenon there are in the summer and winter. Nisaba is the Babylonian goddess of grain and riding. She's often depicted as a sheaf or wheat and associated with fertility of crops or agricultural abundance. Baal, also known as Hadad, by the way, in Canaanite pantheon, is associated with fertility and including the growth of crops and vegetation. As a weather and fertility deity, he's often invoked for agricultural prosperity. Osiris is the Egyptian god associated with vengeance and agriculture, as well as the afterlife. He is commonly depicted as a mummified figure, symbolizing the cyclical nature of growth, decay, and rebirth. Demeter is the Greek goddess of agriculture, harvest, and fertility. She presides over the growth of crops, particularly grains like wheat and barley. Flora, the Roman goddess of flowers and flowering plants, she is associated with the arrival of spring and the blooming of vegetation, symbolizing the renewal of fertility. Freyr, the Norse god of fertility, prosperity, and wheat harvest, he's often depicted as holding a sheaf of grain and is connected to the growth of and the abundance of crops in that mythology. Modern farming seems to be a good thing, as it feeds the world, but there's major problems with it. For one, God said to spread out across the earth, whereas farming requires you to settle down in one area and have many people living nearby. Strangely enough, this leads to city life. How many cities are nicer than wilderness areas? What is the violent crime rate in your own city? The modern agricultural system, characterized by large-scale industrial farming, can contribute to social and economic inequalities. Consolidation of land ownership, the dominance of agricultural business corporations, and the displacement of small-scale farmers can lead to disparities in wealth and power. This limits the opportunities for local communities and contributes to rural or urban living. This can literally cause families to starve to death. Yeah, massive crop growth operations can cause people to starve to death, believe it or not. In ancient times, crop growth could damage the soil by depleting it of nutrients and resources. Crops don't grow by magic. There are chemical reactions that pull certain elements from the ground to build themselves up. When the ground is depleted of things like calcium or iron or the minerals, good crops don't grow. The ones that do grow have hardly any nutritional value for humans. Another concern is agricultural processes, such as the use of synthetic fertilizers and pesticides, can have implications for human health. Pesticide exposure can pose risk to farm workers and neighboring communities, while the use of antibiotics in livestock farming contributes to antimicrobial resistance, and this undermines the effectiveness of medications in treating human diseases. Large-scale agricultural practices have significant environmental consequences, such as deforestation and the expansion of farming, soil degeneration due to extensive farming techniques, excessive water use, and chemical pollution from fertilizers and pesticides, some of which have detrimental effects of modern agriculture. These practices contribute to habitat loss, biodiversity decline, soil erosion, pollution, greenhouse gas emissions, and therefore they impact ecosystems and the overall health of the planet as a whole. It's almost as if God knew what he was talking about when he set out to do all this. And humans chose to follow fallen angels and destroy the world. Then there's the fact that larger farms need more powerful equipment, which leads to massive sources of power, which produce pollution and damage the earth even further.